Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel here for a quick live stream. It's just an update really on the news that's pretty much, everyone knows about now. It's been around a day that everyone's known that Simone Inzaghi is going to leave Lazio and become Inter's new head coach to replace Antonio Conte. We were on the live stream. I was on a live stream with my guy Nat just the other day discussing this whole situation. We were both talking about, what happened with Conte, what happened with Suning, and we both said that Simone Inzaghi is our guy. We both said that, that's the smart choice for the post Conte. It looked like he was going to renew his contract with Lazio, and in the end, he did a U-turn. Beppe Marotta came in with an offer he couldn't refuse, pretty much doubled his money from what he was going to get at Lazio, around the 4 million euro net mark a year. He's going to get Inter plus bonuses, and Lazio, it was around the 2.5 million. So yeah, pretty much doubling his money. And obviously, maybe his cycle at Lazio also came to an end. So I'm happy that Simone Inzaghi is going to be the incoming Inter coach. To be honest, he's the guy I wanted. Well, Allegri was the guy I wanted. He was my number one choice. But obviously, as we know, also confirmed today, Massimiliano Allegri is back at Juventus after 2 years of them kicking him out for Sarri and Pirlo. Now they go back on their decision, looking a bit foolish, to be honest. So he's at Juve. Inzaghi's going to be at Inter, not official yet, but we're expecting the announcement to come any day now, today, tomorrow. Usually Beppe Marotta already said that, they were looking to get this done pretty quickly. Inzaghi's contract with the Lazio actually ends at the end of next month, in June, 30th of June. That's when his contract ends with Lazio. So it'll be interesting to see, does Inter have to wait until his contract is officially over next month to actually officially announce it? But I'm sure they'll be able to work something out, iron out the details. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until the 30th of June to announce it. And because it's contract expiring, it's not like this was the Inter done anything illegal. Tried to tap him up. He's free to speak to anyone due to his expiring contract. Now, Biggie in the house as usual. Saludos, hermano. I saw you. Yeah, guys, if you want to get my the thoughts on why Suning didn't sell Inter, the whole situation with Conte, I went on the Rabona TV channel to talk about the whole situation. Adrian got me on to talk about the whole situation. It was quite interesting to talk with him. And go on his channel, check it out, Rabona TV. He's got 200k subs now. This channel's grown massively, and I appreciate him bringing me on to talk Inter. This is the second time I went on his channel, so it's always very, really nice to go on his channel. But I say what I said on his channel in terms of people were asking, why didn't Suning just sell a few months ago when BC Partners were interested? Mubadala, the Saudi Arabian firm, was interested. Well, basically, it's there's a situation with how Suning themselves sponsor Inter's training ground. Suning Training Center is called, and that brings in around 10 to 15 million euros a year, I believe, in sponsorship. So they've done what other clubs out there have done. And then there's other Chinese sponsorships that are in within the part of Inter. So the companies like BC Partners, some of them backed out because they thought that once you buy Inter from Suning, those Chinese sponsorships are gone. So a lot of that revenue that Suning is showing, the improved revenue since Suning have taken over, which is true. The revenue of Inter since Suning have taken, apart from the COVID period, has been an upward trajectory. But once the report I read on Bloomberg, so a proper financial, not a football source, this is a financial source that says, the companies that are coming in are worried that the Chinese sponsors would just go away. So a lot of that money would just go away. Obviously, Inter have a lot of debt as well, and they've taken on even more debt now with that loan. So it wasn't, when you say things like, why didn't it just sell? It's not. It's a two-way street. Assuming clearly we're looking to sell, but the other party has to be, matching the price, or if not, some of them, as the report on Bloomberg said, they backed away because they were unsure about this about these Chinese sponsorships. They look a bit fictitious, maybe. They kind of inflated the revenues a little bit, perhaps, which you kind of have to do. You've seen, the likes of Man City, PSG, they've been doing these kind of things to increase the revenue, so they're able to spend a little bit more. But when it comes to selling, those guys, Man City and PSG, are not interested in selling, but now Suning are interested in selling. So these kind of things are coming a little bit undone. So, it was similar to the Lautaro situation where people say, oh, why didn't Inter just sell Lautaro? Barcelona were in. Yeah, Barcelona were interested, but where was the cold, hard cash? They didn't actually come with a proper offer. It was just talk. At the end of the day, both is a two-way street. So, yes, maybe Suning should have sold, but I don't think it's as easy as people think it is. It's not. This is not FIFA or Football Manager, where it's you just decide you sell and you get 800 million. That's it, job done. It's a difficult, long process. Yeah, who else we got in the house? We got King Darian. Appreciate the love as always. We got Mo. Shouts out to Mo, man. Sending love out to you, Mo. Hope you're doing well. Hope you go back to doing videos soon. We miss you on the YouTube scene. Yeah, appreciate you if you watch the Rabona TV a video that we did. Hey, Interista Forever, another Inter YouTuber. Check him out, guys. If you speak Italian, he's an Inter YouTuber who does similar content to me, but a bit more tactical. He's an interesting channel, so make sure to check him out if you speak Italian. Another decade of drought is coming. Nah, man. Let's cut this out. Let's cut this out. This negativity. I know you're probably joking, but I want to cut this kind of negative talk out as soon as I hear it, because yes, okay, now we've had to deviate from the plan. We've had to deviate from the Conte era, which obviously I'm sad about. But let's not get too drastic with things. Let's see if we actually have to sell, how many players we have to sell. Are we able to replace them? What else are we able to do? Inzaghi is not a bum. Let's get that straight. Inzaghi is not a bum of a coach. If it was Mihailovic or some of the other names that we're being mentioned, I would have been on that kind of banter era vibe, on the drought incoming vibe. But Inzaghi, for me, like, let's look at it realistically in the league. And you guys give me your opinion as well. But I think he's for next season, depending on who comes in, he's a top 3 coach in the league. Obviously we got Allegri. Top, I think he's after Conte's left, he's going to be the best coach in the league. Mourinho, obviously Mourinho is above Allegri in terms of what he's won and everything, but recently what he's done, a few of his last few jobs, I would put Allegri just above Mourinho right now, even though he's had 2 years out, so it is a little bit unfair. But let's say Mourinho and Allegri are right at the top. Pioli has done a good job with Milan, but still, he doesn't really won anything in his career. Inzaghi, on the other hand, has won a Coppa Italia, Supercoppa with Lazio. He's done a good job, overachieved in some of the years. Getting to the group stage of Champions League, getting past group stage of the Champions League. So let's not underrate Inzaghi. I would put him right up there. And if Spalletti comes back into the Napoli job, then he could probably be up there in the top 3-4. You can move it around. But for me right now, Spalletti has always had 2 years out. So for me right now, Inzaghi is a top 3 coach in the Serie A, to be honest. That's my honest opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm not being biased. This would be my opinion in general, even before we sign them. We better only sell one big player, and it better not be Hakimi unless the wing back curse will come back. Yeah, I mean, that's really how it is, becoming like a personal preference for everyone. Who would you rather sell? Hakimi is probably the one with the most market. It's hard to come by good wing backs these days. So I think it just depends who actually gets offers. I don't think it's a matter of fact of who do Inter want to sell. I think at the end of the day, who does actually come in with a real offer for one of our players? For me, number one priority would be someone like the players who have low value left on the books for Inter. So the guys who have been amortized on the books, like the Brozovic, who also almost has zero value in terms of the book. So anything you'd make on Brozovic is pure profit, pure capital gain. Lautaro, as much as I love him, you guys, I love him. You see him repping him and Lukaku right here, but Lautaro now, he's been here for 3 seasons. His value, we bought him around 25 million. So his value, residual value on the books is around 10 million. So again, very hefty residual capital gain you would make on Lautaro if you're able to sell him for 70, 80 million, which is, what his value is at the moment. Lukaku is one that wouldn't make much sense to me. He's got, I believe the deal we made with United has a sell-on percentage for United. I think it's a 10 or 15% sell-on fee to United. So even if we do sell him for a profit, Lukaku would still have to give some to United. And he still has a lot of residual values on Inter's book. Remember we bought him for around 70 million a couple seasons back. So his residual value on the books is still quite hefty. So those really, De Vrij, obviously we got him on a free transfer. Obviously, all of these players, it hurts to say, but you don't want to really get rid of any of these players. But the two that are really, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't want to get rid of is Bastoni and Barella, because they are the future of Inter, but also Italy. Young, hungry, Interisti. Well, I'm not sure if Bastoni was always an Interista, but Barella's definitely was always an Interista. There's some videos out there of Bastoni claiming he's a Milanista when he was younger, so I'm not sure. But speaking of Bastoni, one good news, guys. Let me give you some good news, because it seems like it's just been bad news or like kind of mixed news this recently last few days. Let me share with you some great news about Bastoni. Let me share my screen with you guys, because it's I was really happy to see this, because it was being discussed whether it's going to happen, whether it's not going to happen, but it's happened. And that is officially Inter and Bastoni have renewed their contract. Bastoni has signed until 30th of June 2024, as here reported by FC Inter News. It was in the air, but now it's official. FC Inter Milan communicate to have reached a agreement of extending the contract of Bastoni, 1999 born defender, pretty much doubling his salary. So that is great news, guys. So I could probably confidently say that Bastoni is not going to be one of the guys that's going to be sacrificed, in my opinion. If you're renewing him, if you're doubling his salary, and he's only 22 years old, I feel like you don't find left-footed centre backs out there. You can go, you know how, you guys know how rare it is to find a left-footed centre back out in this market. So his rarity, his ability, his youth, how he's been performing for Inter, for me, Bastoni is a key member of this Inter team moving forward. Thank you, Bjorn. Nice to see everyone back as well. Barca was offering Inter $10 and a pack of peanuts for Lautaro. Exactly, yeah. Like this is, I've been saying this all season. Some people were regretting saying that not selling Lautaro earlier on, but you've seen Barca's market after that, the whole ordeal. Who have they bought since then? No one. And even this summer, they're probably bringing like Memphis Depay on the free, Gini Wijnaldum on the free. I don't see them doing much else. This is the situation at the moment with a lot of clubs. They don't have money. They don't have the moolah. Listen, boys, it will be good. Inzaghi has it in him to do well. As long as the main guys stay, it will be A1. Yeah, exactly. Let's see first. Before judging, let's wait until the end of the summer transfer to see what Inzaghi has to work with. And Inzaghi is a guy who doesn't, unlike Conte, he's not going to demand things. He's used to. Lotito is a really difficult president to work with. He has been giving Inzaghi shoestring budget to work with, so he's used to these kind of situations. So that's another reason why he was my preferred option, because he's used to working with low budgets, difficult situations. Obviously not maybe as much pressure at Lazio because they don't have as much expectation, but he knows what he's doing. He's not a rookie, guys. Let's give Simone Inzaghi some faith. Even if you don't rate him, I would encourage you to give him some faith for some time. Hakimi News is making you sad. Yeah, any name you mention, it makes me sad. Like just talking about any of the names, it hurts me. It hurts me because this team, we're all so attached to this team, right? These 11, 13, 14, 15 players, even the subs, some of them, this year has been a tricky year, COVID situation, this whole pandemic thing, and the way Inter wanted this group is so united. You see all these pictures and videos of them, such a united group. It just hurts to even talk about them, possibly leaving. But it seems like we'll have to make some sort of sacrifice, guys. Just have to live with it. That's life. It is what it is. The great one Inter says Allegri was also his favorite choice, but Inzaghi is good as well. Thank God we have Marotta. Shout out to you for agreeing with me. Can't imagine if Mihailovic or Fonseca became our coach, it would be such an epic fail. Yeah, Mihailovic for sure. Fonseca as well to a degree, but if you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I'm a fan of Fonseca. I do like Fonseca. I do like these progressive idea managers in general. Like when I talk about my favorite managers out there, even though Gasperini is like a shitty guy, as a human being, but as a coach, I rate him very highly. The likes of, Fonseca, these progressive managers. But as Conte just showed, and then who was the previous winning manager before him? Mourinho. And who was before him? Mancini. And before him, Trapattoni. The four, most recent kind of winning managers of Inter's history, they show that you have to have a certain type of character to be an Inter manager, and that is you have to be a very strong individual, strong-minded, strong mentality, being able to go against anyone, against the press, against the fans, even against your own owners, as Conte sometimes did. You just have to be, there has to be something about you. You have to have, extra level of cojones, as I guess some people would say. And, these likes of, Fonseca, Sarri, some of the other names that were being mentioned, nice guys, but, they wouldn't, I don't think they would have the minerals to manage a team like Inter, to manage the pressure of a team like Inter. Fonseca, and I always say Roma, I believe that Roma is actually the hardest job in Italy because they have the expectations of a Inter or Juventus, but the budget of a Lazio and the fan base is like absolutely crazy for them. The pressure is absolutely crazy. The ultras turn up at training if you lose a Rome derby there. So, and Fonseca kind of showed that he kind of buckled under the pressure there. But I think Fonseca will have a good career. But Mihailovic, he's a strong character, but tactically and everything else, it would have been a disaster. So yeah, I'm glad it's not Inzaghi. And this is this is also a great point. He's got real hair, guys. We've gone from a guy who was hiding his actual real, he didn't embrace his boldness, whereas Inzaghi's actual real, beautiful locks of hair. And he's a relatively young manager, 45 years old. He's young for a coach. So he's only been coaching first team football for 5 years at Lazio. So, he's hungry still, early on in his career, something to prove. So you should never underestimate someone who's, got something to prove, someone who's, still on the upward trajectory in their career. Someone who's, looking to prove things. Maybe, people didn't think he could manage a big team. So maybe there's something he wants to prove to himself and, his doubters that he can manage a big team. Yeah, Marotta being here, that's the most important thing. Marotta has 1 more year left on his contract until next year, 2022. So hopefully, he doesn't jump ship any point soon. I hope he renews his contract and stays a bit long, but the way things are working at the moment, I don't see him wanting to stay in these difficult situation with Suning. And yeah, let's see how things work out. But for the moment, Marotta, Ausilio still have 1 more year of contract. I think the Ausilio thing, maybe it's time that maybe we do look in a different direction for sporting director. Ausilio has done good work over the years to get those, plus Valenza, sell some youth players and get the money in FFP times and bring in players like Skriniar, De Vrij, Brozovic for very low prices. But I think, with Ausilio, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we changed from Ausilio next season and, looked in a different direction, tried to go in a different direction. But Marotta, head honcho, he's my guy. So I hope he does stay. But let's see how things develop Marotta wise. And then speaking of other news related to Marotta and Ausilio, more contract news, as we were talking about the Bastoni earlier. Ashley Young is definitely not renewing his contract. Ashley Young is negotiating with Watford who've just returned to the Premier League. As it says here, Sky Sports UK reported that there might have been even an offer by Inter, I read earlier somewhere, but Ashley Young always said that he wanted to return and maybe finish his career at his hometown team in Watford. His contract ended the 30th of June, but he's fine. He's okay to speak to anyone he wants. So yeah, Ashley Young, shouts out to him. I feel like he hasn't had a great season, but in the end provided great. He had a good end to the season, to be fair. And last season he provided a great impact when he came in. So thank you to Ashley Young. Wish him all the best at Watford and everything wherever he goes afterwards. And yeah, that's already a cut in wages there. That that we're looking to cut wages, so that's already one there. Kolarov will also probably not be renewing. He had a 1 year with a 1 year extra option, but I don't think we'll be taking that option. Which is good. I think every single Inter fan out there will be happy to hear that Kolarov is not renewing. And yeah, there will be more wage cuts in terms of deadwood out there. Jean Mario, I read today that Sporting are getting closer to an €8 million deal to buy finally Jean Mario off Inter. So fingers crossed that's actually happening. He helped them to win the Portuguese league title this year. So yeah, that'll be good. Arturo Vidal, you guys know I like Vidal, but 6.5 million net wages he has to go in this pandemic, in this economic situation. We can't afford him, and not sure. And he was Conte's guy anyway, so these guys that were Conte's guys, I don't see them staying themselves. They're probably Vidal, as soon as he saw Conte leaving, he was probably on the phone to his agent asking what's the deal with Marseille, whoever was interested, whoever was interested with him. Yeah, as Ahmed says, we need to be optimistic, man. Let's try to be optimistic, guys. Bjorn says he's cautiously optimistic about Inzaghi. Could work out pretty well, although we won't walk the league. I can see us win next season. Yeah, we definitely won't be walking the league like we did this season, the 12-point gap. But let's see, guys. Let's see. I'm not gonna give a verdict until the market is over. But let's not start. Let's not be too drastic with our predictions and things. Ahmed asks, which is worse, Ronaldo leaving Inter in 2002 or Conte leaving 2021? Well, I mean, Ronaldo left when Inter just missed out on the title, wasn't it? He was crying, that famous image of him crying on the bench after Inter lost the title on the last day to Lazio. And Simone Inzaghi actually scored that day as well, by the way. I know I was really young that time, but I have this vivid image of Ronaldo crying on the bench. But I'm not really sure if that was as bad as maybe this, because with Conte leaving, because we were on such a high that it's brought us down. It's made us quite sad after such a high, whereas Ronaldo was leaving on such a low in terms of the disappointment of Inter losing out on the Scudetto on the final match day. And a player leaving, I'm not sure if it has the same impact as a coach who kind of brought us back to the Scudetto. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask maybe people who were a bit older than me who lived through that. But I imagine this Conte things hit me quite hard in terms of just how quickly it all happened. Dino says Brozo. I'm guessing he's talking about who he wants to leave. King Dorian says the problem with Inzaghi is that Lazio have dropped coming to the end of the season for the last 2 years. Yeah, that is true. That is one of the there's a good point. One of the things I'll be doing a proper tactical and analysis into Inzaghi, what he's going to bring, the positives and negatives. I'll be getting a Lazio fan to come on, I think tomorrow. Stephen Moore, who's actually the owner of the Laziali website, great Lazio source. So he'll be coming on tomorrow to talk about, Inzaghi, the positives and negative about him, all that kind of stuff. But Lazio were challenging for the Scudetto last year, guys, before the COVID pandemic hit, before Serie A was stopped for, those 2 or 3 months. Lazio were challenging Juve ahead of, Inter for the Scudetto. And then after the COVID period, once the football restarted, they just... And this season, pretty similar. Obviously, they weren't performing as well as they were last season in the first place, but, after they went out to in the Champions League to Bayern, it seemed like they kind of just collapsed. But at the same time, you have to look at their squad. Their main centre backs have been injured. Luis Felipe has been injured for most of the season, and who has Inzaghi been given as a replacement? Musacchio, who was a disaster in Milan and proved to be a disaster in the Champions League for Lazio as well. Disaster kind of backup signing. Patrick, another disaster. These are the kind of backups he has in defense. Acerbi is having to do the work all by himself at the back. Radu is like 35 years old. He's often injured as well. The keepers, Peperena has come in and, he's not been, he's, 37 years old and he's nowhere near as good as he used to be. Made a few blunders this season. Strakosha's at a drop in form. He looked like a promising keeper a couple of years back, but obviously they've got that strong midfield of Milinkovic, Savic, Luis Alberto, but then who have they got underneath that? Like, as soon as one of those two guys is out, they're in big trouble. They were lucky that SMS has been, like Kessie, he's just been going like a machine every single game almost this year. But when Luis Alberto is missing, who's coming in? Like, Cataldi, Lucas Leiva's getting on with age, is nowhere near the same player. They got that other guy, the free transfer from Spain. What was his name? Gonzalo Escalante. He's the backup to Lucas, and he doesn't look that great. Their big money signing, Vedat Murici. Absolutely, that guy's got cement feet, like one of the worst signings I've ever seen. And that's one of the first times Lazio spent big on a player, so it was pretty embarrassing. So you have to see, what he's working with as well. There's a reason for these drop-off. They just don't have the depth. Lazio, that Lazio team, that starting 11 is strong for sure. That starting 11 is good enough to challenge for top 4, but after that, it's just that's a mid-table level. Akpro. Sena Lulic is bloody ancient now. Sorry, Dinko, but Sena Lulic needs to retire. But he's definitely not, a Serie A level player anymore. You have to see what he's been working with. He's been working on a shoestring budget, but it's also true that those drop-offs have been part of Inzaghi's team. But let's see if those were was it Inzaghi's fault? Was it the squad depth fault? So we'll find out. But that's definitely one of the things that does worry me a little bit about Inzaghi. According to Gazzetta, we actually need money, not capital gains. Those are FFP. Yeah, but capital gains are good for business in general. It doesn't mean just because FFP is not quite there, it doesn't mean you still need capital gains to make profit. And like football's still a business. But yeah, primarily we need cash flow. So we need just straight up cash in and out, mainly in. Kilo says doing more digging. He's found that Inzaghi is low risk, high reward. Yeah, exactly. Same feeling as for me. Exactly, Hakim. For me, 5 players are key not to sell. They are the core. Lukaku, Lautaro, Hakimi, Barella, Bastoni. All the others can deal without them. If we lose Hakimi and Lauti, we'll be worried. Yeah, as I said, it's becoming kind of a personal preference, really, what you think. But to me, the must keep are the Barella and Bastoni, and the other guys. It would hurt to leave, but I think it's somewhat replaceable in some way. Let me explain Limone Inzaghi. So guys, you need to keep up to date with the jokes. Last season it was Antonio Gonde, because that's how Conte speaks with his Lecce accent, his southern Italian accent. Now Limone Inzaghi is because limone in Italian is lemon, and it rhymes with Simone. And also, one of the reputations for Inzaghi is that he's very salty or very sour when he loses. He's a crybaby. They call him Piangina actually in Italy, because he cries so much, about the referees, VAR, decisions, blah blah blah. Like this guy is a crybaby. Like Conte moans at his own team and his own owners and stuff like that, but Inzaghi moans at everyone else. So that's one thing to keep an eye out on, and that's one of the things I don't really like about Inzaghi. Like personality wise, charisma wise, he's got, I wouldn't say loser mentality, but he is a little bit, he's always making excuses. So that's why Limone Inzaghi, and I'll be using a lot of lemon emojis on Twitter. So keep up with the jokes. And he uses the word Z when he says a lot of words. Like he says it in a weird. He's got this accent where it sounds like he's saying it with a Z. So you'll see on Twitter people will be making fun of. He says spiace. The word in Italian is spiace, which means I'm kind of sorry, but he says it with like a Z, so he says like spiace. So that's one of the Italian Twitter jokes that you maybe see running on Twitter, or if you see me using words down here with a Z in the future, that's because he says things in this accent where he almost sounds like a Z when he says words. Good point, Darian. That's the other point I wanted to bring up. Another Inter news. Inter actually released their financial statement today, and in that they said that they are looking to confirm their sponsor very soon, as here reported by FC Inter News. In their financial statement, their contract with Pirelli ends on 30th of June 2021 after 26 years. We know that. But regarding this, we are in talks with a series of potential new partners for the shirt sponsorship, with an objective to finalize this deal before the start of the new sporting season. So that's another good news that Inter are working on this, and hopefully it will be something positive, something that's definitely more than Pirelli. Pirelli used to give us peanuts, but it probably won't be as much as some of the big deals out there because of the situation. It's such bad timing, to be honest. If we weren't in this pandemic, it would have been so good. On the back of winning the Scudetto, sponsorship money would have been through the roof. But the lack of people in the stadiums, the lack of TV viewings are down as well. All these kind of factors mean that the sponsorship deal probably won't be as high as we probably would like it to be. Well, this guy is very, very confident with Inzaghi. Shouts out to you. At least you're the opposite of some of the guys that are seeing in the comments now. 3-year renewal is weird. For Bastoni, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's probably just extending it by a year or two. I can't remember what his original deal was supposed to be expiring in, but yeah, you're right. Maybe it's a little bit short. This probably be coming up again, but that's probably the deal that his agent and himself probably wanted. Because I think they've agreed on a 2.5 million net salary, which is probably still on the lower end. So it gives them room to negotiate once again in maybe a year or two, because it's still on the lower end for if you went to the Premier League, you could easily double that type of money. So we've done it's a pretty good deal getting Bastoni on a 2.5 million deal contract. I'm not really sure it works like that. I'm not really sure it works like that, but obviously don't quote me on that, Andrea. No, Mosab Inzaghi is not official yet. But it's pretty much all the sources are indicating that it is going to be pretty much official. All the sources are indicating that. Yeah, that's another good point in terms of selling Lukaku. His value. This is probably what is going to be the peak of his value, and his favorite coach is gone. But if he's still motivated to stay, he's a top 5 striker in Europe. You're not gonna. That's the thing. When you're looking at replacing someone, can you replace Lukaku with another top 5 striker in Europe? Whereas with Lautaro, you feel like you can replace maybe with someone else. Brozovic, you could replace with someone else. But with Lukaku, when you're a top 5, are you able to replace with another top 5? And I don't really see that happening. And the fact that it wouldn't make that much capital gain for Inter. but we'll see. We'll see. Immobile was never this good before, and Inzaghi was able to make him win the Golden Boot. So Conte made Lukaku do so much dirty work off the ball, with the back to goal. But Lukaku's always said that he prefers playing with his facing towards the goal, and that's how Immobile plays for Lazio. So maybe a different style of play could even bring out even more goals from Lukaku. So let's wait and see. Yeah, Sanchez really needs to reduce his wage if he wants to stay. 7 million net. I don't think we can afford that for a substitute striker. Yeah, shout out to Great One Inter. This guy always had the archive videos out there. Over the years, this guy, if you can go on his channel, and he has random videos from like Inter 2004, 5, like a full match or like full highlights. Great channel. If you especially this summer when Inter are not playing, if you want to have a little nostalgia trip, that's a great channel to check out if you're not. But obviously he's got like 10k something subscribers. I'm sure you guys know about him. Patrick asks whether he will continue running the 3-5-2. Yeah, I think in the last 2 years Inzaghi is pretty much running a 3-5-2. Sometimes he was running a 3-4-2-1. Like, he is a little bit flexible. Like, he was running, Luis Alberto behind, Immobile, and, Correa and Alberto behind Immobile at times. But he seems to be pretty certain with that formation. But you never know. He's, as I said, he's still young in his career. Conte used to be a 4-2-4 guy earlier on in his career and then changed to this. You shouldn't tie coaches to like a certain formation. If you're a good coach, you're able to adapt. But this is the formation that Inzaghi is 99% gonna run, in my opinion. Julian, we'll have a look in the next coming days. I think I'm doing a video tomorrow with a Lazio fan who'll be talking about Inzaghi in depth. So we'll talk about that kind of stuff in the coming days, in coming weeks. We'll have a look at the tactical analysis, things like that. But initially, I would say he's slightly more offensive than Conte. When you watch Lazio, they're a little bit more higher up in their defensive line, and sometimes they can leave themselves exposed, and a little bit higher pressing compared to the last Conte we had, like the last 6 months of Conte. Then we talk about the initial Conte, last season, at the start of this season, we were definitely a little bit more high pressing, and then we dropped a little bit deeper. So I would say it's quite similar, honestly, at the end of the day, when you compare the Conte from start of this season to the end of this season, and Inzaghi in general, from what I've seen at Lazio, they're able to adapt to like their opponent. They don't have like they're gonna dominate possession when they're playing a smaller team, but then they're happy to be counter-attacking when it's a bigger team. And the fake hair is actually Conte's secret for success. Yeah, you're probably right. And they ask, why is Marotta so important for us, man? He's the guy who makes all the decisions. We saw Steven Zhang was absent from Inter for months now because of the pandemic. Obviously, he couldn't come, but there was zero communication from Suning whilst they were absent. They were in China. We heard nothing from Suning. Marotta was basically like our president for this past season. And, the decision to bring in Conte, you could say is easy, obviously bringing in the best, but you have to convince these people. As you saw with Lotito, it's not easy convincing people and making them sign something. He thought he convinced Inzaghi to sign the renewal. And then Marotta gave him this contract offer, turned around, bringing in Conte and his staff, the likes of Pintus, convincing Oriali to come back and, be part of Conte's staff, dealing with the media, dealing with the press, dealing with fans, dealing with the Curva Nord, the ultras. He's the one who oversees everything. It's not a coincidence that he was there when Juventus were going through their best period, and now he's here when Inter just won their first Scudetto in 11 years. And before that, at Sampdoria, he was part of the Sampdoria team that went to the Champions League. A historic finish for Sampdoria back in those days. So he's just the best. He's the best CEO that in Italian football. That's why he's so important. So yeah, respect Beppe Marotta. Who will Inzaghi looking to sign? We'll see. Let's see. There will be loads of speculation on, he's the media is going to link us to every single Lazio player. So calm down. If you see Milinkovic Savic being linked to us, Luis Alberto being linked to us, calma, calma. Uh, let's calm down. So you know how the media is. They'll link every Lazio player or any Lazio player or a player that was linked with Lazio when he was there will be linked to us now. So let's see in the coming days what happens. Hey, we got Milano Miguel in the house. Check him out if you want to, if you're interested in AC Milan related content. The cousins, who obviously came back to European football this year. So shouts out to you, Miguel. De Vrij is our commando now. Biggie says he should stay at all costs. Yeah, but the thing is with De Vrij, guys, he's 29 years old. He was a free transfer. He's cost on the books is nothing. So everything you make on De Vrij is also pure profit. So I'm not saying I want to sell De Vrij, but I'm open to selling De Vrij as much as I love him. Risto's not impressed with Inzaghi, I'm guessing. Yeah, as I said, Andrea, as I just mentioned, calm down with if you see these links, I wouldn't. I'm not really sure if we're able to afford, and especially Lotito now. There's a Lotito tax anyway. Lotito makes you overpay for his players anyway. But now that we've taken his manager, who was supposed to be renewing his contract with his team, under his nose, he's gonna make us pay through our eyeballs for any player that we want from Lazio. So honestly, I wouldn't trust any of these rumors. Dino doesn't care about Lulic either. So the Bosnian stabbing their own in the back. Strakosha, according to Muhammad, will be joining Inter for sure. He's only 1 year, could get him for 10 million. It could be, honestly, now that you mention it, it could be a low cost option, but he's had a bad year at Lazio last year. Injuries, and in general, he's had a drop off in form. I used to like him back in the days, but let's see. It could be one of the options, to be honest. But his drop in form has been worrying, and now Biggie's not convinced with Strakosha. No worries, Navon. If you don't have time to watch, you can always rewatch later. That's the beauty of these live streams. It's happened. Yeah, it is kind of a little bit kind of the treble, like when Mourinho left us, but it's not as bad because Moratti kind of left in a very, very bad state and he had to sell to Tohir and them. Whereas here, let's ride out. Let's see if Suning are able to ride out this pandemic. If Suning themselves can get in better shape, the Chinese government, can they loosen some of these restrictions they have? Let's see. I don't think it's as bad. And that triplete team was, Mourinho squeezed every last bit out of that team. Everyone was like 29, 30, 34 years old. Everyone was on their last season at the top level. Milito gave us his last, big season, and the likes of Lucio, Samuel, Cambiaso. Those guys were, just like on the declining phase, where some of these guys are just in their ascending phase. So I wouldn't compare it too much to that post-triplete time. Hey man, it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world that Inzaghi is our coach. Come on, guys, let's not overreact. Yeah, Nick Knox, Inzaghi, Italian coach, pragmatism is always the number one approach. So don't worry, he's not going to be coming in to try to play Bielsa ball. I can guarantee you that. Lorenzo, that's an interesting point. I'll have to double check, but I think you're right. Inzaghi in his first 5 years of management has won more than Conte did in his first 5 years, which is a little bit unfair because Conte started from like the Serie B, Serie C, the likes of was it Siena, Ancona, Ascoli, was it some Bari? He did the gavetta. He did the hard work from the bottom. Started from the bottom. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mentioned that Bjorn, that Jean Mario seems to be close to Sporting, man. Pray to whoever God that you believe in. Please pray that this actually happens. The only way we're getting Lazio players if they are trash or they cancel the contract. Yeah, probably true, Darian. If we get a goalkeeper, it should be Cragno. Yeah, I've always, said my preference towards Cragno. Especially if we can work out something in the whole Raja deal and something like that. Our relationship with Cagliari, because Musso is too expensive for us now for sure. Yeah, Jerry. If you know about Jerry Mancini, he's been sad boy season for him the last week. He's been really sad. He really liked Inzaghi. Yeah, which shows, you guys might not like Inzaghi, but these Lazio fans are really attached to Inzaghi, which shows, he's a passionate guy at the end of the day. I don't feel like he's very charismatic myself, but on the bench, you guys will see this guy is even more active than Conte. This guy sometimes jumps onto the field when he shouldn't be. Hey, Scootery, we got Danny Khan in the house. What's up, my bro? Long time. We need to link up. MVP podcast. I haven't seen these guys post up something in a while, but make sure, yeah, check out MVP podcast if you guys are into like MMA, basketball, football. These guys do all kinds of content on their channel. But yeah, I need to link up with these guys at some point. Sometimes I wonder how many selfies Jerry has with the middle finger. Yeah, that's the trademark Jerry thing now. Inzaghi won 3 trophies with the average Lazio. Yeah, I'm liking this positivity, guys, with Inzaghi. Let's continue with this positivity. Give me this positive propaganda. I don't want to hear none of this negativity. Yeah, Inzaghi has overachieved with the Lazio team. Let's be real. Yeah, I've seen a few people that like Inzaghi more than Conte, even though they're defense 3-man defense guys. And he was fighting for first place last season. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, even though they dropped off. What's up with that depressed guy feeling suicidal? It's a part of his name, bro. It's a part of his name. It's part of his name. What can we say? Completely off topic. What do you think about people? Hey, people Inzaghi. It's funny how football is. As footballers, people was infinitely the better player compared to Simone. Those family dinners must have been awkward back in the day because people was the high achieving, the darling of the parents probably, winning trophies, scoring goals in the Italian national team. But now that they're managers, it's the other way around. People stinks. This is the second time he's got a team relegated. I don't think we might even see him in Serie A, to be honest. People, unless he gets another team promoted like he did with Benevento. Because at Bologna, he did an awful job, got fired. At Milan, sorry, he didn't get another team relegated, but this is the team he got relegated. But Bologna, he almost got them relegated, got fired. At Milan, he did an awful job, got fired. It was a difficult job, to be fair. It was his first job, a little bit like Pirlo. And then he did okay at Venezia, I believe, and now he did well at Benevento last year, got them promoted. But yeah, as a coach, he seems like it's just not his thing. This Benevento team were like mid-table at one point. He was doing well, and then they just dropped. And they had a better squad, in my opinion, than the other promoted teams like Crotone and Spezia, who actually stayed in Serie A. Vincenzo Italiano saving Spezia with what I think is a much worse squad than the Benevento's. Benevento actually spent some money and invested in some Serie A level players. So yeah, Simone is infinitely better as a coach than people. But so Simone was really average or even below average as a footballer. He was a striker with 29 goals in like 133 appearances for Lazio. That's an awful record. People most ugly but beautiful goals, exactly. People would be done in the VAR era, man, as a striker. I wouldn't say the whole summer is tainted. It's left a bad taste in our mouth, but I wouldn't say it's all taste. The tainted is now coming from the fact that we're having to, maybe sell some players and these kind of rumors that we're having to sell. That's the sadder part. The Conte thing, it was sad. Like it hit me the other day, but it goes on. Conte. He's never stayed anywhere for more than 3 years. Juve is the place he stayed at the most, and he's a legend there. So yeah, he's I'm not surprised there. So I wouldn't say he's tainted the summer. Simone relegated. Yeah, he's ruthless, man. He's relegated his own brother. So yeah, that's a good point there. What's my Twitter? Is at @rshams. Let me just type it in if you are interested to follow me on the Twitter sphere. Nima believes in Inzaghi. Most people, yeah, Nima. Actually, there was a tweet from me as well. I didn't realize, but there was a tweet from me from 2 years ago when I was talking to a regular of the channel, usually Indro Hari. Probably guys recognize his username. We were talking, and I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Inzaghi ends up at Inter in 2 or 3 years, unless he goes to Juve, and that was in 2019. And yeah, it's actually turned out to be true. Yes, Venezia is promoted. They got promoted the other day, so shouts out to them. One of the waviest kits in football, Venezia. Yeah, I was expecting one more year from Conte as well. I was disappointed about that because I thought 3-year contract, he'll finish it out, the project, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. Great point by the flow here. That's another point that I will be bringing up with my Lazio friend tomorrow, Steven. Questionable substitutes. He makes some weird decisions. Like I've watched some Lazio matches where they were. One example was the Milan versus Lazio in December or January when Milan beat them 3-2, and for some reason Inzaghi took off Immobile and was it Caicedo? He brought on Murici and someone else. Like it was such a weird substitution. He took off the two strikers. And the 60th minute, I don't know if there was an injury, but it was just like a really weird substitution. And after that, they just lost that match. So that's definitely one thing we need to look out for in Inzaghi. His in-game management seems to be a bit. But that's one of the things that we also used to say about Conte. So Conte allegedly going to Real, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I want to hear Conte shouting at Modric and Cruz to how we used to shout at Griezmann and Eriksen to cover and track back and defend. So I want to hear him shouting in his broken Spanish to Kroos and Modric. That would make my life. And I think he deserves a team that's actually built already. Like he said that he's tired of building teams from scratch, which is true. This guy is every single project. It seems like he has to take a team to from 0 to 100. Whereas with if he goes to a team like a PSG or Real Madrid, at least for once, he doesn't have to bloody start from scratch. So I want to see whether he's able to do something like that, Conte. Yeah, exactly. How many times we moaned at Conte substitutions about bringing Gagliardini on or going to a 5-4-1 when we're defending or something like that, going a little bit too defensive. But yeah, that's it, guys. 50 minutes little stream. I wanted to actually only come on for a half an hour, but you guys were active in the comment section, so I always appreciate that. You guys know I always like to keep interacting with you guys. But yeah, guys, Inzaghi, don't be too negative, guys. Stay calm. Limone Inzaghi, I trust in him. Bastoni is renewed his contract. Lautaro's also negotiating for his contract, so let's wait. It's not all bad news. Ashley Young is leaving. Kolarov is probably leaving. So there's balance. There's balance, guys. Let's not be too negative. And as always, guys, Forza Inter. Hopefully we see Lula still next season. Ciao. Leave a thumbs up, guys, by the way, if you enjoyed the stream.